Well, I'm back. 2X Garage here. And as you saw in the last video, what we did is disassemble these heads. If you go back to the actual head review that I did initially on these, they're actually not a bad casting head. There's just some flaws. The port matching on these with the gasket is actually incorrect. There's room for improvement on these, also within the bowl. So after you disassemble the heads, the next step we're going to do is we're going to lay this out and we're going to open these ports up. But before you do that, on the surface where you want to, you actually use a layout die. It's a machinist die. Basically, it lays down real nice on this, and then you lay the gasket on there, which we'll show you in a few. This is just the prep work to go into actually opening up these intake ports. So we're going to get at it, and hope you enjoy this. So kind of a quick explanation of what we did there you saw in that video. We put the gasket down where it needs to be, lined up the holes, and used those bolts to kind of pressurize this down, hold it into place. And then Jimmy just took a scribe, and he scribed around here on these ports, and that's going to actually show you where it needs to be opened up. Like I said originally, and showed you that these didn't actually port match. So we're going to open these up so it has the best flow we can possibly get. So when you actually pull this off here, you can actually see the scribe marks and how far those are off. It's not bad towards the top of the cylinder, but towards the bottom it is. And as you know, when the air flows through there, if it's hitting anything, well, that can, stop some of the flow. Also, I do want to get these to flow a little better. So, you know what? We're going to get at it and head on to the next step. All right, what I'm going to show you real quick is you can see the scribe lines here is, compared to the gasket. And I should have done that just a second ago, but I was kind of in a rush. So as you can see, when you actually do put these into place, look where the metal and the gasket meet. Obviously, these can be opened up more because this is going to match the intake. So when we scribed it after we sprayed this, and just for a little bit of reference on what we were actually using, the name of it, spray on layout dyes, blue layout fluid. What you want to do, it does dry quickly, but you spray it on there. This is another one of those items where low humidity helps, but a little low compressed air helps do that. Not a lot of pressure, just enough to help dry that out. So when we got it on there, we had actually bolted it into place to hold it in there, and then Jimmy went ahead and scribed it as you saw. But let me come in here just a little bit more. You can see those scribe marks there and what we can actually open up. So when you take this gasket off, voila, we can see how much we actually need to open up. So not only are we going to open this up, we're going to roll it in a little bit. So now we're going to get on to the next step. See you in a few. All right, as you can see, one of these ports is already done. Jimmy showed me what needed to go on. So kind of the next step is we're going to port match these. And we just got this Makita die grinder with a bit specifically for aluminum. And as you can see in here, it's kind of rough castings and how it wasn't port matched correctly. So we're just going to go through here and we're going to round these out along our scribed lines. Just a little bit of a hint. We are using a penetrating lubricant to help keep these lubed up when you're grinding. So I'm just going to get working on that a little bit. And you just take your time, go through here real gently. You don't go fast, take off just a little at a time. And do all 4 ports. And I'm going to get at it. But just to kind of show you a little bit the roughness of it in there. So I'm just going to go in there and smooth all that out. Time to get to work. All right, so basically I just used this die grinder here with the special bit made specifically for aluminum. As you can see, I did go slow, and I ended up port matching these and just rolled them in a little bit and took off a little bit of the rough casting in there just to give it a little bit more direct flow. So how did we do? Well, let's find out. Grab our gasket, and as you guys saw before on what that looked like, so I'm just going to grab my gasket here, line it back up, and check it out. Matches along here. It's nice. Pretty good. I could probably clean that one up a little bit more in that section there. But as you can see, this is actually port match now. So that's how you port match your heads to the gasket and to the intake. Now, of course, we'll check the intake on this. Just to give you a little bit of background, I did check it. It was actually pretty good. But, you know, there's always a little bit more cleanup work that can be done. Just get these a little bit smoothed out. They don't have to be pretty. But as you can see, these do match now. Pretty good, huh? So next step on this is to basically just go ahead and take care of the rest of these heads, and probably just kind of give you a little bit of a preview on this. I don't have my headers in yet, but I can tell you right now, just from speaking with the guy who is making them for me, he did recommend that, you know, possibly that these get opened up a little bit. I'm going to wait to do that. I want to also match those out. But my biggest thing on these was getting them port matched. And I think it turned out pretty well. What do you guys think? So basically, in a nutshell, that's what we did. So sorry about this. I'm doing this by myself today. So long story short, basically what we did was, as you saw in the first part, is that we lined up the actual gasket to the surface. We sprayed it, we scribed it, and then I went in there and just cleaned these up, rolled it in on each port just to get a little bit more flow, open it up. I'll probably do a little bit more work on these, but I just wanted to show how to actually port match this to this. So thank you. We'll see you soon. All right, so that's a wrap. I decided to keep filming and do the other cylinder head so you could see what I had going on. So, yep, got this one lined up. It is port matched. Opened it up a little bit in there around some of the harder bends just to get a little bit more flow. So, yeah, that's how you port match your gaskets to your intake to your heads. And it's not that hard. Does take a little bit of time, a little bit of patience. Safety first on this one, especially with your eyes and your hands. You want to make sure you're holding on to your grinder nice and tight. I had it skip a couple times, but luckily nothing was done wrong on that. So just kind of a recap on this, as what Jimmy showed. After the heads are disassembled, you go ahead and you spray down your blue layout fluid. Dry it off, put your gasket down, bolt it into place, scribe it, take that off where your scribe lines are, take your die grinder, go in there, radius that out, and just take a little bit off at a time. I flipped it over and did the other side, opened them up a little bit more just for that little bit of extra flow. So yeah, earlier in a video that we already released, what we showed was disassembling them. So this one here is basically just showing you how to port match them. Hope you learned something. If you did, that's great. If not, glad you know what you're doing. And we're going to get on to the next steps on this. But you know what? It's a long day. So I will see you guys tomorrow.